Good evening, duelists. Today we are playing Fusion Xyz plus Festival, which means we can only use Fusion monster and Xyz monsters and any extra deck monster that facilitate Fusion and Xyz summoning. Basically, that's kinda the idea. Now, the thing about this kind of event is, while it is definitely a lower power format than the ranked ladder, a lot of meta decks are actually still allowed in this event, albeit with some nerfs, basically, right? For example, something like Branded. Branded is still totally playable in this event with Branded Fusion goes into 1. I think Aluber also goes into 1 and also Opening also goes into 1 without the Ecclesia Synchro, but it is definitely still playable. So what ends up happening is this event becomes a place where you play those decks that are actually strong enough to survive the ladder, but also struggles a lot there, so you play them in this event. So today we are playing Exosister. Exosister is a deck that, in my opinion, is actually kinda on par with a lot of meta decks when going first. Because if it is allowed to make support, then it is really difficult for your opponent to break it. Even like the half board is quite decent, right? Something like Carmyle Pass represents something like 4 interruptions, I think, because Carmyle gets Fadis in the end phase and then Fadis gets you 2 monsters to go into 2 Xyz monsters. So yeah, Exosister is pretty strong. The problem with Exosister is it really struggles going second, unless maybe you open Shifter, right? And it is because, well, first of all, you don't really have a lot of board breaking capabilities, but also, most importantly, you need 2 bodies on your field to make a play, and your opponent will not allow you to do that, basically, right? So, yeah, now let's look at the deck list here. I mean, this is Exosister, right? It's not like there is any new groundbreaking tech or something, it is mostly solved. But if you're not familiar with Exosister, then it is a deck that basically hates Graveyard. It punishes your opponent from manipulating Graveyard, whether it's their own Graveyard or your Graveyard. And all of the main deck monsters have this effect where if your opponent moves a card out of either Graveyard, then you can special summon from your extra deck 1 Exosister Xyz monster using that 1 card as a material. And it is also treated as an Xyz summon. That's basically the main gimmick of the deck. Now let's look at the card one by one. First of all, of course, we have the Triple Martha, the best girl. She has an effect where if you control no monster or only Xyz monster, she can special summon herself from the hand and also special summon allies from your deck. This is the one card that gets you into 2 bodies at the same time, but it comes with a heavy restriction where you cannot special summon the turn you activate this effect except for Exosister monsters. So not before and not after. And this is the reason why Exosister is really difficult to be paired with other engines because you cannot special summon other than Exosister. Martha also has this unique difference where her Xyz summoning effect can be triggered from your own action, unlike the other girls that can only be triggered from your opponent's action. Next, we have Triple Alice. If you control an Exorcist monster, then you can special summon her from your hand. Also, if there is Stella on your field, then you gain 800 life point. This is basically just a free body, which is very much needed in Exosister. And then we have her partner, Stella. Also 3 off with an effect during your main phase, you can special summon 1 Exosister monster from your hand. And then if you also control Alice, you gain 800 life point. So this is another way to get 2 bodies on your field. And then we have another pair that is not as great, which is Irene and Sophia. Sophia has an effect where if you control another Exosister monster, then you can throw 1 card. And then if there is Irene on your field, then you gain 800 life point. This is actually quite decent because it allows you to draw your non-engine, but it is not starter by any means. Irene on the other hand has an effect where you can place 1 Exosister card from your hand to the bottom of your deck and then throw 1 card. And if there is Sophia, you gain 800 life point. So a draw, but you lose 1 card from your hand, basically. And most people actually just play like 2 Stella, 1 Sophia, 1 Irene because they are not as great, right? But I kind of want to put more names on the deck because I feel like opening even the worst Exosister name, which is Irene, feels much better than opening something like 7 Tachyon. Even though 7 Tachyon can search for Ichiki Sayori-hime, which is the best extender. And the reason being is, well, first of all, 7 Tachyon is -1, which is not great for our deck because we don't generate a lot of advantages. But also it is more susceptible to things like Ash and Troll. Another reason for putting more names is because it really helps with the grind game. Because Exosister really hates the Graveyard. which means you also don't have a way to recover cards from your graveyard. So having more names on your deck would be very helpful on the third turn when you already deplete some of your resources, because you can only get resources from your deck, not from your graveyard. And then we have the honorary member of Exosister, which is Ichiki Sayori Hime. And this card works in this deck because she doesn't special summon, but rather she gives an additional normal summon to herself. So if you control a monster with 800 attack or defense, which all of the Exosister have, and this card is in your hand, then immediately after this effect resolves, you can normal summon this card. So basically another way to get level 4 bodies on the field without conflicting with Martha. And then if this card is normal summon, you can add one level 4 light or dark monster with 800 attack or defense from your deck to your hand. So this is simply the best extender in Exosister because it put bodies on the field and also search for the other Exosisters. And then for the spells, we have triple packs. Of course, this card search for any other Exosister card, and sometimes it comes with a bonus to special summon. So this is a no-brainer. And then we also have the triple betrayals. This is one of the newer support of the Exosister, which makes this deck really good. It has 3 effects. First, when this card is activated, you add 2 Exosister monsters from your deck to your hand and then discard 1 card. The second effect is you can target 1 monster on your field, and then you can additional normal summon from your hand 1 Exosister monster that is mentioned on the targeted monster. So for example, if you have Sophia on your field, and then you can normal summon Irene from your hand. Or if you have something like Alice on your field, then you can additional normal summon Stella from your hand. So this card is basically like the best starter that you can have. Not only that, it gives you 2 cards from your deck, it also gives you like additional normal summon to go into your Xyz play. But not only that, the third effect is actually the one that makes it feel so custom. So if a monster is sent to your opponent graveyard from anywhere by any means, then you can activate this effect. Your opponent banishes one of them. And the reason why this feels so custom is because the one that banishes is not you, but rather you make your opponent banishes. And this is really important distinction in Exosister because it means that it triggers our sister's Xyz summoning effect. And then we have the traps, which is Vadis and Returnia. Vadis has an effect to special summon 2 Exosister monsters from your deck, one that you choose and the other one that is mentioned on the card that you choose. So for example, if you choose Irene, then you summon both Irene and Sophia. If you choose Alice, then you summon both Alice and Stella. And then if you choose Martha, then you special summon both Martha and Alice from your deck. And this is why having more names on your deck really helps, because sometimes you just cannot activate Vadis because their partner is missing from your deck, right? Returnia, on the other hand, is a simple targeting banish. You can target 1 card on your opponent's field or graveyard and then banish it, and then it gains an additional bonus effect. You can either Xyz summon 1 Exosister Xyz monster using monsters you control, or if you already Xyz summon this turn, you can banish 1 other card your opponent controls. That's basically all of the engine in our deck. I mean, there is also 7 Tachyon here that can search for any Exosisters and also search for Ichiki Sayori Hime. But I believe I take it out later in the event because I don't like 7 Tachyon as much, and also our deck is definitely consistent enough to play with how many names that we put in our deck. And then for the non-engine, we have Triple Diri Crow. It banishes 1 card on your opponent's graveyard. This is mainly to trigger our own Martha because Martha can be triggered by our own action. And then we also have Triple Ash Blossom, which I believe does not need more explanation. We also have Skullmeister, which can negate effects activated on opponent's graveyard, which can be useful against something like Branded, right? But another reason why I put Skullmeister here is because it is a level 4, which can act as extender in some circumstances. And then another level 4 is Fualos, which is always good. And then finally we have Talent and Trust because I don't know what else to put in this deck. And then for the extra deck, we mainly have Exosister Xyz monster. They all have 2 effects, one that only applies the turn they are Xyz summoned, and then the other one is more generic effect by detaching a material. First, we have Michaelis. The turn you Xyz summon this card. Quick effect, you can target 1 card on your opponent's field or graveyard and then banish it. And then the other effect is you can detach 1 material from this card to search for 1 Exosister spell or trap from your deck. And then we have Caspitel. If you Xyz summon this card, then this turn neither player can special summon from the graveyard. And then the other effect is you can detach one material from this card to search one Exosister monster from your deck to your hand. Next we have Keyprint. Turn you Xyz summon this card using Exosister monster as material. Quick effect, you can target one monster on your opponent's field and then negate its effect until the end of the turn. And then the other effect is you can detach one material from this card, and then for the rest of the turn, all of your Xyz monster gain 800 attack. And then we have Asophiel, the last member of the original team. If this card is Xyz summoned using Exosister monster as material, then this turn neither player can activate card effects from the graveyard. And then the other effect is you can detach one material from this card, then target one monster your opponent controls, return it to the hand. And then we have Carmyle, the other support for Exosister alongside Betrayals. And unlike the previous Xyz, this card is not a generic rank 4. Carmyle requires 2 Exosister monster as material, so we cannot use something like Ichiki Sayurihime or any other level 4. She has 2 effects. One, if this card is Xyz summon, then on the end phase you can set one Exosister spell or trap from your deck, graveyard, or banishment. The other effect is basically an Omni Negate that triggers our own Exosister, so when your opponent activates a monster effect or a normal spell or trap, then quick effect you can detach all materials from this card, and then the activated effect changes into add one card from your opponent's graveyard into their hand, which means from our graveyard to our hand. Finally, we have Magnifica, the only rank 8 in Exosister, and she must be Xyz summoned using 2 rank 4 Exosister Xyz monsters and cannot be cheated out. She has several effects. First, she can attack twice during the turn, and then she also has a quick effect non-targeting vanish by detaching a material. And the wording of the last effect is a bit confusing, but it is basically a quick effect to Xyz summon one of her material by using herself as a material. For the ratio, this is mainly because I don't have any more craft point, but 2 Michaelis and 2 Carmyle is mostly enough. It is very rare that I wish I have the third one, but I do always wish I have the second Magnifica, because you always want to summon Magnifica on the first turn and then you also want to summon it on the third turn. And then for the generic extra deck, we don't have much because we cannot special summon other than Exosister anyway for most of the time. And as you notice, my extra deck is not even like 15 cards because I don't know what to put here. But then we have 104 Masquerade. This is for a 7 Tachyon target, and we also have Typhon, which is Typhon. The other card that you can put here is Zeus and something like Excitonite, I think, but I don't have those and I don't have the craft point to craft those. So yeah, that's the deck, and now let's look at how it plays. Alright, we are going first and we open 2 non-engines and 3 engines. This is probably your opening hand for most of the time. So here we start with Martha special summoning herself and Alice from the deck, and then we immediately extra normal summon Ichiki Sayurihime to search for Sophia. And the reason we are not going to Carmyle here to insulate our combo is because we can't. There is no card in our graveyard, so Carmyle is offline, so instead we go into Michaelis to search for Betrayals. We activate Betrayal to get Irene and Martha and immediately discard Martha because we don't need her. We can actually search for Alice to get more bodies on the field, but it is more susceptible to Super Poly. So instead we just normal summon Stella. Stella activates to summon Sophia from the hand, and then we go into Carmyle. Carmyle activates and then Sophia throw us a Pax, which is really good for us. And then we extra normal summon Irene using Betrayal and go into Caspital. Caspital gets us Martha for the next turn, and then using Michaelis and Caspital we go into Magnifica. Finally, we use Pax to get Returnia, set Returnia, and then on the end phase we set Vadis. This is the end board that you always want to achieve: 1 Magnifica, 1 Carmyle, and 2 traps. It represents something like 8 interruption, and it is also quite strong against Super Poly. Unless if your opponents just normal summon Albaz and then Super Poly into Dragon that devour the Dogma. So yeah, it's rough, but we are still in a good spot because we have a good matchup against Branded. So they activate Dogma to shuffle cards from the graveyard, which is not the best move against Exosister, but at the same time it doesn't really matter because we still have Betrayal to make them banish monster from their graveyard. So we activate Vadis to summon Alice and Stella, and our opponent shuffles card from our graveyard, which is a choice, and it triggers our Alice and Stella to Xyz summon. And of course, we are going into Asophiel because Asophiel is an effective floodgates against Branded. And then we also go into Carmyle for the Omni Negates because we haven't used the Carmyle yet. We activate both and our opponent just go into the battle phase to attack our Carmyle, but we activate Returnia to banish their Dogma. And this is where we can actually summon into another Magnifica if we have the second one, that is, but it is neither here or there. So our opponent go into the main phase 2 to activate the force, and we use Ash, and our opponent just scoop because there is nothing else they can do. Let's go into the next game. Alright, now we are going second against Shark. Now this is one of the reasons why I love playing this kind of event so much. Because sometimes you just met this kind of deck that you never met before, right? Because they're definitely not good enough in rank. And to be honest with you, I'm not really familiar with Shark either. I know it is an Xyz based archetype, but I don't really know what they are trying to accomplish and what their game plan is. So I actually made a lot of misplay here. So we let our opponent do their combo here because we don't really have anything to interrupt. I mean, we do have Diddy Crow, but I don't think a single Diddy Crow will stop them from doing their combo. So I feel like it might be better to keep the Diddy Crow in case we need to trigger our own Martha on our turn. So our opponent ends on 2 set cards, 2 Xyz monsters, and 2 irrelevant cards. And we draw a Betrayal. We activate Betrayal to get Martha and Sophia, and then discard 7 Tachyon because we already have a lot of engine in our hand. And then we activate Martha to special summon herself and Alice from the deck. And our opponents activate Kraken to destroy our Martha, which is quite expected. So we activate Thrust to get Talon, and this is where my first misplay is. I activate Talon to take control of Kraken without realizing it is a once per turn on the monster, not once per turn on the player. So I cannot activate its effect again. So we special summon Alice from the hand and go into Carmyle. Carmyle activates her effect. We normal summon Sophia. Sophia throw us an Ash Blossom. And then we use Pax to get Irene and special summon Irene from the hand. And then we go into Michaelis. Michaelis gets us a Vadis and also banish one of their set card. And then we go into the battle phase, and this is where the second misplay is, and this is even more stupid. I use the Kraken to battle the Big Jaws for no particular reason. I should just crush the Kraken into the other axis and then just destroy the Big Jaws with our own Exosister, and I don't know what I was thinking there. So yeah, we set our traps and pass, and this is another thing that I did not read from our opponent's card. The material on the Shark Drake axis has an effect to attach one spell trap on the field as a material, which we definitely can utilize using Talon last turn. We let them take our Betrayal, and then they normal summon trying to special summon from the deck. So we are using our Ash here because we are keeping our Carmyle for their Kraken. We activate Kraken, we chain Carmyle, and then also Vadis to special summon Irene and Sophia from the deck, and then our opponent gives us our 7 Tachyon back from our graveyard. Irene and Sophia trigger to Xyz summon, and this is another misplay. I should just Xyz summon into Asopiel and Caspitel and just literally shut down their graveyard. But instead I go for Michaelis for a banish and Kiprin for an on-field monster negate. And then they go into the battle phase to attack our Michaelis, so we activate Michaelis to banish their monster, and then they attack with a Kraken and activate their trap to make our attack 0. So we activate Returnia to banish their Kraken and then Xyz summon into Magnifica. This is where I need to deal with the consequences of not reading my opponent's card properly. So here our opponent activates Trap in the graveyard to send a monster from the deck to the graveyard and then add a monster from the graveyard to the hand. They added Shark Drake that can special summon itself, and then they go into main phase 2, activate another monster effect in the graveyard to special summon itself, so we use Diddy Crow to banish it. But they still have another monster effect in the graveyard. They activate it to search for an Aqua Jet card. They get an Aqua Jet Surface that can special summon one monster from their hand or graveyard. And so our goal here is simple. It is to not allow them to make an Xyz monster. So we activate Magnifica here, and it is important to activate Magnifica's second effect first to Xyz summon because it needs to be activated in response to your opponent's card. And then we chain it with the banish effect. We banish their monster, go into Carmyle, they special summon a monster, and then they run out of gas. And mind you, none of this would happen if we just summon Asopiel, which shut down their graveyard. So yeah. And now it's just a way to find little, and I don't think our opponent has any more graveyard effect, but just to be safe we are keeping Returnia, because at some point you need to learn your lesson. We use Michaelis to get Betrayal. Betrayal gets us Martha and Stella, and then discard 7 Tachyon. We activate Martha to special summon herself and Alice, and then we go into Asopiel. Asopiel activates her effect, and then she also bounces our opponent's monster to the hand. And then we go into the battle phase and attack for game. And that's the game. Definitely one of the game ever, and definitely not a high level play, but Yu-Gi-Oh is just a game where you make stupid mistake like this and you just learn from it, and that's why it is fun, right? So yeah, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching and see you for the next one.